then we see turmoil in the Liberals, and I know that there will be wall-to-wall coverage on CTV of this turmoil, of a Liberal MP criticizing his own budget days before the vote.
They never learn their lesson, do they? Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got Pierre destroying woke reporters, trying these hit piece questions on him. He's not having it. Did they not learn from the Apple situation and every other situation since then? Pierre does not play these stupid games, but they tried, they failed. Let's jump into this. This is the first speech he's done since the floor crossing, and well, the media, as you see here, take this as the first opportunity to try to get him on this. He's not having it. But first, he absolutely destroys Carney here on his lack of progress, his lack of leadership, and Canada crumbling.
He promised that he would spend less. And of course, that is the biggest broken promise at all. We now see Carney's costly credit card budget. He doubles Trudeau's deficit. You know, it's almost unthinkable. No one thought anyone could spend more money than Justin Trudeau. But Mark Carney said, hold my beer. And he came along with a deficit that is twice the size of the one that Justin Trudeau left behind. A deficit of $78 billion is the biggest in history outside of COVID. 16 billion bigger than Carney promised during the election. It is almost all due to increased spending, not due to tariffs from abroad. In fact, Mr. Carney has brought in $150 billion of new spending and offset by the promised savings that he says he will achieve over the next 5 years. It's a net increase of $90 billion. Almost all of it is on operating expenditures, not on capital investments. This is with a doubling deficit, the biggest non-COVID deficit in Canadian history. Mark Carney has introduced a credit card budget that will drive up your cost of food, housing, and fuel. And that is why Conservatives unanimously oppose it.
He's not wrong here. Go over to the International Monetary Fund website. What do we see when we look at general government debt percent of GDP? You sort this by value here, and there's Canada. 7th on the list, 110. We can see it visually on the map here. Any of the countries with orange are in trouble. America also in trouble. And who else is in trouble? The European Union, Japan. It's all these Western countries that have woke prime ministers or presidents. That's why Japan just voted in a new prime minister to clean up the problem. Moving over to the question period. Let's see how many questions they ask here about Carney's awful budget and how many are going to be about Chris d'Entremont, the floor crosser. And I should know, I just uploaded on my second channel the full speech, a speech from last year, Chris d'Entremont, trying to convince everyone to support the Conservatives. And in that speech, he also rags on a bunch of Liberals. I have to check some of the names. He name drops people by first name who don't show up very much in the House of Commons, not in their constituency, which probably isn't sitting all that well with his new party.
Hi, Matthew Skase, Globe and Mail. You've yet to address last week's floor crossing and departure from caucus. Chris d'Entremont said your leadership is why he crossed the floor. How do you respond to comments that your caucus is not united right now?
Well, first of all, I just quote Mr. d'Entremont, who said, and I quote, "Since I first elected here in 2019, the cost of living has skyrocketed. Even then, families in Nova Scotia, as it is now, as it was called at the time back, but is now Acadie and Annapolis, we're struggling. We warned that the Liberals' out-of-control spending and massive deficits were irresponsible, but of course, they did not listen. Now, after 6 months under the new Prime Minister Mark Carney, who promised fiscal discipline, Canadians are still waiting." He said, Mr. Carney said, I'm quoting Mr. d'Entremont here, Mr. Carney said he would be judged by the cost at the grocery store. Well, Canadians are judging him, and they are not impressed. Since the Liberals came to power, food prices have risen 40%, said Mr. d'Entremont. We have heard it many times here today. It is deliberate, and it is unacceptable. It is inhumane for a G7 country, said Mr. d'Entremont of Liberal policies. He said, we are a rich country. We are a food basket of a country. We can produce all the food for many people in the world, and we can barely feed ourselves for some reason, end quote. That is how Mr. d'Entremont described the outrageous cost of living as the direct result of Mark Carney's Liberals. I'm very saddened for the Nova Scotia families on whom Mr. Carney and Mr. d'Entremont are raising the price of groceries and homes, but that will not change our resolve to continue to fight for an affordable Canada, affordable budgets, and an affordable future. Thank you.
Pierre was waiting for that one, not messing around. That quote of d'Entremont, I believe, was about from 2 months ago.
Rick Bell, Postmedia. We've been told in Alberta for weeks, if not months, that on Grey Cup week, that we would get a win in Alberta. And that win would be a pipeline to the West Coast. It would be significant commitment to action on the so-called 9 bad laws. And that would all happen Grey Cup week. That is to say tomorrow. We're also told somehow there might be some sort of memorandum of understanding between the province of Alberta and Carney. That's just floating out there. I don't know if that's confirmed.
The 5 projects, the major ones that Carney's going to announce, have already been leaked out. I'll wait until tomorrow to cover them so it's official from Carney, because I already know a tidbit of information, a very important tidbit of information that I bet the media will not touch regarding Carney's announcement on major infrastructure projects tomorrow. But an oil pipeline coming from Alberta going somewhere is not on that list.
Your thoughts, because for weeks, months, we've been promised that Grey Cup week, the stamps aren't in, neither is Edmonton, but that Alberta would get a win on both of those files.
Mark Carney's been prime minister for 8 months, promising to move at, quote, unimaginable speeds. And yet, there's not a single project that he has launched that was not already in the making or approved before he took office. Mark Carney needs to do only one thing for us to get a pipeline from Alberta to the Pacific. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. There are trillions of dollars of international investment crying out for the chance to build that pipeline without any government support. All they need is the federal government to stop blocking it. Repeal the 9 bad, get out of the way and repeal the 9 bad laws that block energy projects. Get out of the way and remove the ban on shipping oil off the northwest coast of BC, a ban that only applies to Canadians because, of course, American tankers can travel between Alaska and California in those very same waters, so why not allow Canadians to do the same? Get out of the way and get rid of the liberal industrial carbon tax so that we can actually produce enough oil to fill a future pipeline. Get out of the way, Mark Carney, and do it now. It has been 8 months. We don't need Mark Carney to put on a hard hat and hold another photo op. He's had countless photo ops in the last 8 months, while investment flees and our industrial sector leaves to the United States of America.
And those photo ops too, those hard hats, they all look like they're brand new, shiny, brand new hard hats. Most likely they're just a bunch of liberal plants standing behind Carney.
He's not got shovels in the ground on anything. Now, I suspect there will be some sort of quote unquote memorandum. You know something? Memorandums don't pay the bills. We need shovels in ground. So Mark Carney should get out of the way and tell us on what date will shovels be in the ground on a new million-barrel-a-day pipeline from Hardisty, Alberta to Prince Rupert or Kitimat, British Columbia. That's all he's got to do. Give us the date, show us where the shovel will hit the ground, and tell us when it will happen. That is what we need to have. Get out of the way, Mark Carney.
Hey, Tim Brooks, CTV. You lost 2 MPs the week of the budget. One cited your leadership as a reason for leaving. I just want to put Carney and the Liberals to the side here, just as you personally.
Of course you do.
Does this say anything about your leadership? Have you maybe reflected on your leadership style moving forward?
No, my plan is to continue to lead and be the only leader in the country that's fighting for an affordable Canada, where our people who work hard can afford a home and food. That is my agenda. And I will just quote Mr. d'Entremont when he speaks about Mark Carney. He says, after 6 months under a new prime minister who promised financial discipline, Canadians are still waiting. He said that he would be judged by the cost of groceries at the store. Well, Canadians are judging him, and they are not impressed. He said this only a few months ago. Since the Liberals came to power, food prices are up 40%. We have heard it many times here today. It is deliberate and it is unacceptable. It is inhumane, said Mr. d'Entremont, for a G7 country. So he said that liberal food price inflation under Mark Carney was inhumane, and I couldn't agree more. And I feel badly for the inhumane conditions, to use his own words, that he is now supporting for his own constituents. But I won't just quote him. I'll quote Nate Erskine Smith, a Liberal MP, who now says that his children should not have to pay for Mark Carney's budget.
Oh, this is so savage. Pierre was waiting for this. He got the nastiest quotes coming from Chris D'Entremont and now Nate Erskine-Smith. This CTV reporter thought he could sneak one over on Poilievre here. He's not having it. This guy's a strong leader. He's enduring all this garbage from the media day after day, week after week, years now of this garbage, and it doesn't break him. That's the kind of guy I want as a prime minister.
Let me see here. Now to the bad and more fairly, where expectations were set at a level we failed to meet, including on the question of generational investments. The budget falls short of these specific promises in our platform, and it unfortunately falls well short of the wartime home building effort that many of us thought we'd deliver. It's certainly not a budget that should throw us into an election on an uncertain time, but it does not live up to its promise of generational investments. He goes on to say, this is Mr. Nate Erskine-Smith, a Liberal MP, that Mark Carney has broke his promise to spend less, with $90 billion of new spending, only 36% of which is actually capital. The rest is more costs. So when you have a Liberal MP attacking the costly credit card budget that Mr. Carney has put forward, then we see turmoil in the Liberals, and I know that there will be wall-to-wall coverage on CTV of this turmoil, of a Liberal MP criticizing his own budget days before the vote. I know you're camped outside his office right now, waiting to get comment from him. I know you've been chasing Mark Carney down hallways to find out what he has to say. I mean, it's just been the relentless coverage that you will have of this dissent within the Liberal Party.
This is too much. This is hilarious. He is calling the media on their crap here, their awful journalism, and he's right to do so. He is totally in his right to call them on this, because there's no coverage aside from that one panel on CBC where they had to run damage control. They're doing nothing when the media's been covering for a week now. Rumors, and we got an actual Liberal MP here criticizing Mark Carney and saying his budget is not it. It's not the thing that's going to save Canada. Criticize numerous sectors, and where's the media? Good job, Pierre. Nail these guys.
I understand also there's former Liberal Minister Guilbeault is unhappy with the environmental policies, that while he supports raising costs, he doesn't think they raise them enough. That we've got Wilkinson is unhappy. So I know that I'm looking forward to seeing the wall-to-wall coverage on CTV of all of the costly turmoil in the Liberal budget. So I will be tuning in tonight to watch your newscast. Thank you.
Hi there, Sydney Fazard with Rebel News. Last year it was reported RCMP published a secret report suggesting Canadians may revolt once we realize how broke we are. This year, under Prime Minister Carney, we're approaching a $100 billion deficit. How close are Canadians to a breaking point?
Well, many are already broken. That's not the only report. The Liberal government, there was a leaked report that came out through Blacklocks. It got very little media coverage, but it said basically liberal policies had us on track so that Canadians will have to forage and hunt for food because they can't afford groceries. Like, this is in Canada. This is the talk that you would expect in an impoverished, overpriced third world economy. But that is the trajectory that the Liberals have us on. And this costly credit card budget of Mark Carney will make that even worse. Canadians can't afford life. They are absolutely desperate. Go into our streets and talk to people. Ask them about their lives. Their lives are falling apart because they cannot afford this costly government. And it is leading to major breakdown. Go onto the street not far from here. There's an encampment where people who've lost hope and have been broken are now addicted to fentanyl and are dying face first on the pavement on our streets. These are the real issues. This is why I'm in politics, to fight to give back the promise of our country that every single Canadian, whether they're a waitress, a welder, or a businessman, can have a good plate of food every single night, live in a nice house on a safe street. That's why we're in this business.
When have you ever heard Mark Carney give a speech like that, make a statement like that, talk about doing what's best for Canadians, struggling Canadians? As for Blacklock's reporter, I covered that story. We're getting the news out more and more. I'm getting close to 4 million views a month on Facebook, as well as on Spotify. I'm on Amazon, on Apple Podcasts. It's time to take our country back here. People need to stop watching mainstream media because it's full of garbage.
Aaron Collins, CBC. So Chris D'Entremont, just turning back to last week's said that your party is being run like a frat house. So I'm just curious what you think he means by that, and if you think
Well,
that.
I think that CBC had to be, are you with CBC, by the way?
Yeah, that's what.
Oh, okay, right.
I'm just curious if you think that that could lead to more MPs leaving your caucus, and what you think he means by that.
Well, first of all, CBC has had to correct the falsehoods that they put into that story. So I encourage you to tell Canadians about the falsehoods you published and explain why you did that.
So savage. Yeah, the whole falsehoods that he's talking about is Andrew Scheer and the whip went into his office and pushed his secretary out of the way. It was a physical assault. And if that were the case, then they would have filed charges against them. And they didn't file charges because that was a load of bull crap. And then the CBC had to do a retraction. But of course, they put that on some little website that no one ever sees. They don't do it on air. They don't broadcast it. They put it on a website.
Ask if you agree with Mr. d'Entremont, or do you believe he was telling the truth when he said, and I'm going to quote, "Now, after 6 months under a new prime minister who promised financial discipline, Canadians are still waiting. He said that he would be judged by the cost at the grocery store. Well, Canadians are judging him, and they are not impressed. Since the Liberals came to power, food prices have risen 40%. We have heard it many times here today. It is deliberate, and it is unacceptable. It is inhumane for a G7 country." Mr. d'Entremont said that Liberal food price inflation is inhumane. Do you believe that he was telling the truth when he said that?
He
Yes.
turned it around.
Oh, you can.
One asking the questions.
But
I'm the one asking the questions. Pierre turned this around. This is such a good move here. That CBC journalist came locked and loaded with this little hit piece question and getting it served right back at him.
I did already. I already said that your report from CBC was wrong, and we have corrected the record. We put out a statement. We stand by the statement. But I have a statement here from Mr. d'Entremont. He says, since the Liberals came to power, food prices have risen 40%. We have heard it many times here today. It is deliberate, and it is unacceptable. It is inhumane in a G7 country. Do you agree with Mr. d'Entremont that Mark Carney's food price inflation is inhumane?
So again, I asked you if you thought that, if what you thought Mr. d'Entremont meant by your party being run like a frat house, whether or not you thought that would lead to more MPs leaving your caucus. That's the question for you, sir.
No. So I answered your question. And so the answer that I have back to you is that Mr. d'Entremont this is a quote from just a few months ago, where he said that Liberal food price inflation was inhumane. And you know what? He's right. Thank you.
Checkmate. There's nothing he can say to that. Checkmate.